challenge. While some areas have seen foreign and cash buyers move into the market, 40% of Florida homeowners are still underwater. Housing is an issue we haven't heard much about during this presidential campaign, certainly not during the first two presidential debates, and we won't hear much tonight considering the two candidates will focus on foreign policy. All this week here on NBR, we are looking at the state of foreclosures across the country, 4 years after the housing bubble burst. We spoke with the author of the book Foreclosure Nation, Shari, earlier today here in Boca Raton.
Well, the United States foreclosures in general are looking better. I mean, month over month, year over year, we're down significantly, 16% I think year over year. But we're seeing a strong bifurcation along the lines of judicial versus non-judicial states.
Explain the difference and why that's important when it comes to foreclosures.
Well, the difference between those two types of states, of course, is in judicial states you require a judge in a courtroom to approve the foreclosure. And of course, the reason that we've seen a bottleneck there in those states is because of the robo-signer delay and other investigations and lawsuits, changes in the rules and procedures required to do those types of cases. The problem, of course, then, is that in those states, Florida, for example, we're seeing foreclosures go up because they were backlogged for so long. So in Florida, foreclosures are up 24% year over year, and 11 months of increases, meaning that this is not just a blip on the radar screen.
This is a state, Florida, where we are, where the economy comes together as a political issue, foreign affairs tonight, obviously, with the presidential debate. But we haven't heard a lot about housing. Why do you think that is?
Well, because no one really has the answer. Part of the problem is that really housing is inextricably intertwined with employment. I mean, let's face it, until wages go up and people start earning more money, they're not going to be able to pay more money for homes. So we're really in a rut as far as that goes. But the other issue in terms of Florida, and let's look past the election now, is what's going to happen, what is the state going to look like 2 or 3 years down the road when all of these investors who are bulk buying foreclosed homes from the government are using those homes as rentals? Are we going to be the rental state?
Well, talk to us about that, because nationwide we've seen existing home sales certainly bottom out, point higher. New home construction last month was at its highest point in the last several months. Prices have begun to be sustainable here. All of this seems to be good news, but the foreclosure status that you point to is still very difficult. Lots of homeowners here in Florida still underwater.
Yeah, it's not bad news. It's better than bad news, but it's certainly not good news. And one of the things that we're going to see as a result of this is a continued trend that historical home price, home value line is going to continue to bump along the bottom, which for many people can be more damaging in the long run, trying to hold on and not seeing any home appreciation than it would have been if they just took that hit and over the last 3 or 4 years have been moving on with their life and rebuilding.
4 years on to the housing bubble burst. We're 2 years after the robo-signing scandal. Why are we still seeing this number of foreclosures come to market every month?
Well, the existing foreclosures, of course, are just now moving forward because the banks are more comfortable doing that. But for new foreclosures, a big part of that is just this fatigue. I mean, how long can people hold on when they know that they're underwater and just sitting and waiting and hoping values will go up? Eventually, people have to cut their losses and move forward. But the other big part of it, of course, is that, and this is not short sales, it's the pre-foreclosure stage, is that the banks are getting more on board with doing the short sales and doing the deeds in lieu and moving this inventory, so that's a good thing. But again, the question is, who are those buyers? A huge majority of those buyers are still investors and cash buyers as opposed to first-time home buyers, which begs the question, what are these folks, these 2 or 3 million new renters in this country, going to be doing when they need a nest egg, when they need an emergency fund, when it comes time to retire or pay for their kids' education? The question is going to be, after the election, how much is the government going to support home ownership in general? Rules like the mortgage interest deduction and other policies that really help to encourage and enable people to have that American dream.
Now, early voting is already underway here in the Sunshine State, as well as many other states. Hundreds of thousands of absentee and early votes have already been cast, meaning the audience of undecided voters still left to cast ballots is that much smaller and that much more important for both candidates, their campaigns, and supporters tonight.